Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sport. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.
Welcome back, everyone, to Fabulous Lifestyles Radio Talk Show, where we are talking with Lynda Sunshine West on breaking through fears as setting the foundation for running a very successful publishing company. And before we break for commercial, we were talking about, how feeling that when no one came to find you when you had run away at the age of 5, that oh my God, people didn't like me, or they didn't love me, so now I have to make sure I'm doing everything to please them. And so you were in that way of thinking for like 45 years. And so moving into today, and so going through where you decided, every day that you were going to break through one fear. And again, what really drove you to make that decision around breaking through a fear? I mean, one a day for every day. I mean, most people just doing one in a year is a big thing.
Especially mindfully, right? Like, oh, I'm going to go search out a fear and break through it. Right. That's not usually something we say. But so what happened was when I was 51, I was driving to work. I had been in the corporate world for 36 years. And during those 36 years, I had 49 jobs. My last job was working for a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And one day I was driving to work and I was like, I don't understand it. Like, why am I here on this planet? I have no value. I have no purpose. There's no reason for me to be here. All I do is push papers around for a judge. Like, this is terrible. Why am I here? Why is this planet here? And I was asking all those questions, like, what is this earth all about? All those different questions that a lot of us start to ask a little later. And when I got to work that day, there was a Facebook post from a woman that said, I'm a life coach. I took some time off and I'm getting back into it. I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their lives. And I felt like that woman was speaking to me. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what the future was going to hold, but I knew one thing: I wanted to change my life. So I ended up working with her for 5 months. And after I was done working with her, I had made such a tremendous transformation in my life that I decided to quit that job working for the judge and to embark on a new journey called entrepreneurship. And, it was incredible, but all those changes that I had made working with her, they were awesome and they were helpful, but I felt like there was something still that I needed to work on, and it was drastic. And so January 1st, 2015, I woke up that morning and I said, you know what? I have so many fears. I'm going to break through a fear every day this year. That was literally how it lined up. There was
Wow.
no forethought. I'd probably been dreaming about it or thinking about it in my sleep, but when I woke up, it was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I just went on the journey to do that every day. That was exactly how it happened.
Wow. But was it really easy for you? Did you ever
Oh,
wake up and
no.
ask yourself when you ask yourself, okay, what is it that you're fearing right now? Was there ever a fear that when it came, you were like, oh no, I'm not touching that one?
Every day. Every day for 365 days, because they were fears. So some of the fears, here's one thing I learned a lot during that year about fear itself. But one of the things I realized is that no matter how what the fear is, it's fear. Fear is fear. Now it might have different ranges, like terrifying fear or just fear, but every fear that I have was a real fear to me. So if I told you, Lynette, today, your fear is that you're going to go walk up to a stranger and start a conversation. For you to be like, oh, that's easy. I could do that every day, all day. It doesn't scare me at all. But for me, that was debilitating. I would literally drive to networking events, and then sit in my car, never go inside, and then just drive home. I used to do
Wow.
that all the time. So to challenge myself to walk into a room where there's a bunch of people and start a conversation, that was a big deal for me. And so that fear popped up in different ways.
Mhm.
Fortunately, none of my fears were expensive because I did make a commitment, So my fears were so deep rooted in the fear of judgment, which
Mm,
started as the foundation in my household, because we're talking about foundations.
mhm,
That was
right.
a foundation in my household. And
Mhm.
because I was surrounded by judgment, I became judgmental, not only of others, but also of myself. So that
Mhm.
fear of judgment was really the underpinning that greatest fear that I had. So there were so many different fears that as I look back, I'm what's the what's the theme of my fears? There's got to be a
Yeah.
theme here.
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's the fear of judgment. This is
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
Now I can work on that one fear, the fear of judgment, and a lot of my life will change. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so after that year was complete and you did this assessment and then you came up that, God, what was this all about?
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
and around judgment. So then you sort of razored in and then this is what I need to dismantle.
And actually, it was about 6 months into it where I started just asking myself
Ah.
that question.
Mhm.
And so what's cool is because now I had 6 more months, and the
Mhm.
vast majority of the fears that popped up from that point forward, for sure, were the fear of judgment. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
this is the fear of judgment. I can work on
Mhm.
this. This is the fear of judgment, and I just kept working on it. So now I don't have that fear of judgment. It's incredible, absolutely phenomenal how my life has transformed because of that one realization of the fear of judgment. I am no longer a people pleaser because people pleasing is underlying, it's a fear of judgment.
Okay, but before we go to the next thing, how did you break out of this fear of judgment?
Oh, it was chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. So I'll give a great example. I was attending, I remember this, I was attending this event, and that fear that day was probably to, approach a certain person because I knew I was going to be at this event and who was going to be there. And so when I walked in, before I walked into the room that day, I said to myself, from this point forward, I'm going to be accepting of all criticism. And boy,
Mm.
did it happen that day. And I got to be tested, you know. So here I'm attending this event. I'm having a blast. It's an incredible event. And we were on a break, and I was talking to like 4 or 5 of my friends that I had met at that event. And this one woman that I really looked up to, I still look up to her. She came walking over and she said, "Hey, Lynda, can I have a talk with you?" And I was like, oh my gosh, she wants to talk to me. This is how I felt like she wasn't a movie star or anything, but she was extremely very wealthy and successful in her business.
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
looked up to her and I said, yes, of course. So we go walking over, and she sat me down and she said, now the way I was dressed that day, just to paint a picture, I was wearing my hair in ponytails, and, and I was wearing a t-shirt because had brands, like people paid to be on my t-shirt for me to brand
Oh.
them. And so I was wearing my hair in ponytails so that people could see my shirt, and I was wearing
Mm.
jeans and tennis shoes.
Mm.
So she walks over and she goes, I think you're just an amazing person. I love what you do. I love your heart. I think it's absolutely incredible. But the way you present yourself, I don't know
Mhm.
that I would be able to trust my money with you. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my God, thank you so, so much. And I wasn't pissed off, but I went and told my friends, and they were like, what did you say? Like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to punch her out, all these things. And I was like, no, this was a beautiful moment because I
Yeah.
got to exercise that gift that this woman
Mhm.
gave me to
Mhm.
say, okay, this is something I need to pay attention to.
Mhm.
I get to decide how I want to show up, but at least being aware and having conscious awareness of
Right.
how I want to show up, how I want to
Mm.
represent myself. So
Mhm.
it was just fascinating, but I was definitely tested and I passed the test. I got to tell you.
Of course you did. But
Yes.
from that point, getting that feedback that you found very useful. So now you're showing up at other events. How did you transform?
Oh my gosh. Again, it's chipping away, chipping away. Every day was different. I still am a little bit apprehensive. I don't want to say scared because I'm not scared anymore, but a little bit apprehensive when I go to events and meet new people. But what I do is one of the exercises I created many, many different ways to break through fears. But one of them is that as I'm driving to an event, I will psych myself out and I will mentally put myself in the environment and say, awesome, when I show up, I'm going to show up with confidence and I'm going to show up that
Mm-hmm.
when I walk into that room, people see a confident woman. And then I'm going to approach somebody and I'm going to just say, hey, my name's Lynda Sunshine. What's your name? How are you doing? Or something like that. So I actually prepare myself for meeting people because I know that that's one of my greatest fears. And that fear stems from the foundation of that fear. A lot of it is from my first husband, who on a daily
Mm-hmm.
basis said, you're stupid, you're ignorant. People are
Mm-hmm.
only nice to you because they feel sorry for you. And I believed him. I chose to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But now I choose to realize that he was wrong. He was 100% wrong. People
Absolutely.
like me because I'm a nice person.
No, you're a great person. And so, thank you, Linda. We are going to break for a short commercial, and then we will be back to continue this conversation on Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Talk Show.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.